All right, how's everybody doing tonight? Okay, we're going to get started with what we got here. I know the roads are kind of iffy, so let's go and begin. Tonight we're going to be talking about a couple things. One is ISO, and the other is contrast or contact sheet. While we're talking about ISO, go ahead and download from any of your Foki week assignments so far, at least 10 images. While I'm talking about ISO, I need you to download at least 10 images to your Mac desktop. Create a folder on your Mac desktop. In order to do that on a Mac desktop, to create a folder anyway, you're going to press the Control key plus click, and it'll create the folder. And then let's name the folder contact or something like that. So those new to Macs, Control key, press and hold it, plus click on your desktop. So Control key, you're going to hold it, plus you're going to click and create a folder, and let's call it contact. All right, you're going to put 10 photos, 10 pics in that folder. Okay, questions on that? Go ahead and do that while we're talking about ISO. The other thing I need to mention is in week 4, there's a study sheet for photography terms. It was actually last week, so I didn't mention, so I'm bumping it up a little bit. So if you look in week 4, tonight, or sometime this week, we'll actually go over it in a second on the overhead, but there is a digital photography terms, and then next week, you'll have a take-home exam that you can take. It's a matching on digital terms versus the definitions. So let me show you that real quick while you're downloading stuff here. It's in our notes, I believe, or take it back, the assignment link. Keep going. Here's the end class we'll do. There's your take home. It's the last one. It should actually be in week 4. Do it this way. This should be actually up there. Sorry. Let me move that down. Okay, so I moved it in week 4, and it's digital photography terms, and all you'll need to do is this week take some time and study these terms, get to know the term itself and the definition. So it goes over basic photography tips, aperture priority mode, shutter priority mode, zoom, landscape photography, night photography, macro photography, nature photography, aperture, shutter speed, ISO, image resolution, image stabilization, image format, focal length, depth of field, white balance, exposure compensation, red eye removal, tripod, batteries, and photographic filters. And what you're going to do basically is have a matching quiz next week, and you can take it anytime next week. It's going to be due a week from this Sunday. And I believe I put it in week 5. Right here, it's digital photography terms take home. Let me show you what that looks like. Basically, you'll have the terms on the left, and you'll need to choose the matching or the definitions on the left and choose the terms on the right for the quiz. Okay. You do only get, I believe I've got, how many attempts on this? I believe it's one attempt. It might be two. Let me look here real quick. Two attempts. Two attempts. So you do get two attempts to take it. So, but be wise to study that list before you take it. Questions on that? And that is the only quiz for the whole semester. Right? That's it. So, because this class is more about doing than learning quizzes, taking quizzes. So tonight we're going to talk about ISO first, and you're downloading your images, right, to your desktop? Okay, cool, into a folder. Okay, if you go into week 4 notes, that's what we'll be camping on tonight for a second. We'll go over week 4 notes. We'll go over the in-class exercise, which is creating a contact sheet. You'll be submitting it tonight before you leave. And then the take-home is going to be creating another contact sheet, but you're going to do one in class tonight. Tonight we're going to be using iPhoto. Your take-home is going to be using Picasa, which the steps are already out there for you. But let's go into 4 notes. And there's 3 links here in 4 notes I want to go over first. It should be card 1, card 2, card 3. So I'm going to go ahead and click on card 1 first. And all these are cheat sheets to put in a camera bag, or you could put them on your phone. This one here is sideways, so you got to turn your head. This one's 15 pages. I don't really like it, but I've kept it in there over the years. It's a good resource. It's good stuff. It's just hard to, justify keeping 15 pages of notes in a camera bag. But it's okay. I put it out there. I don't really like it too much, but just too many pages. The next one's card 2. This one's a little better. This one's 37 pages, but you can see it better. Granted, too many pages for a camera bag, but it gives them exhaustive notes on each one of these. Like, for instance, let's go into the bigger the number, the smaller the light. When you change the lens opening and shutter speed numbers, it's hard to understand what you're doing. In the illustrations below, the boxes show from white to black. The total change represents how much light is passing through the lens or shutter blades. A mnemonic is the bigger the number, the less the light. And they're talking about aperture here. The term bigger is used here loosely, not mathematically. So it gives some ranges like an SLR, point and shoot, and in all cameras. And then explains some of the modes on your camera, like program mode, AV mode. So it's a great resource. It's my second favorite, though. It's not my favorite. Let's get to the one I like. It's card number 3. This was only 2 pages. Perfect camera bag, or on your phone, or on your tablet. What it does is, and I'll zoom in here a little bit so we can see column by column. This is called Jim's Photo Cheat Sheet. It condenses Beecher's. Beecher has been the de facto cheat sheet for photographers for years, which was the second one that we looked at. And it basically gives step-by-step basic photography tips for all photographers that they should know. Beginner, intermediate, advanced. It's always good to go back and look at them. Like number 1 is when you pick up your camera, ask these questions. Is the light good? What's the direction of light? Shape and texture. How large is the light source? Contrast. What's the color of light? Set the white balance if it's the wrong color. How much light is there? Set the ISO, which we'll talk about tonight. Which letter do you use on the exposure mode for depth of field, motion, or none of the above? What you see is not what you get, color and contrast. What should you not depend on in the light meter? What is the best focal point? And it goes on, it says read on for the answers. And then it goes on and explains, is light good? direction of light, how large is the light source, and it explains all of these one by one in those first few questions that it asks. It's really good. Gives little graphs and examples. It's only 2 pages. I love that one. If I was going to say which one I would recommend, this would be the one to save on your phone or iPad to have with you at all times. It's really nice. Or fold it up and put it in your camera bag. Okay, that's just free for you to have. And next one is the ISO notes we're going to look at. It's, again, just some basic notes on ISO, which we're going to be doing a little bit this week, a little bit more. So we've talked about ISO and generalities and what it does, how it helps us if there's bad lighting in the room, you can turn up the ISO. Someone last week was playing with their camera in here and they couldn't see anything. We bumped up their ISO to like 800 and they could see stuff after they took the photo. And so ISO is what we're going to talk about tonight. Hopefully understand some more about it. It's basically a camera sensitivity to light. And if you're relatively new to digital photography, which some of you are, making sense of all the lingo and acronyms can be rather a daunting task, but it's a key to your way around the camera. Second paragraph. Break down the term ISO. It's short for International Standards Organization, the main governing body that standardizes sensitivity ranges for cameras. It's a term that has carried over from film. When you change your ISO setting, and this is important, you're adjusting your camera sensitivity to light. Remember, the most important part of your camera to determine image quality is what? Is it megapixel or is it your camera sensor? Anybody remember? The sensor, right? The better the sensor, the better the quality of image that you're going to have. And so it goes on and it says that the ISO helps adjust the light. And I like to tell students it fakes the light out, basically. It fakes it because it's not really that bright in here, but ISO fakes out the sensor to think it is. ISO can be anywhere from 24 to 6400. Last week, one of the things in the assignment was you had to do 3 levels of ISO, remember. Most of you was like 100, 200, 300. You might have done 80, 120, 220, whatever your camera range was, all right? And it looked different on each photo that you took depending on that ISO that you selected. So these numbers have direct relational with the device's sensitivity. So the lower the setting, the less sensitive it will be. The higher setting, the more sensitive it will be. So finding the right ISO, let's go there. First of all, you should know that high ISO or higher ISO typically translate to a noisy or grainy image, and that's important. So the higher ISO you go, like if you were in this room and went to 1200, yeah, it would be a brighter image, but it would also be very grainy image. So it starts playing with pixels when it's overcompensating too much for the light that's not in the room, okay? So as you increase your ISO, you're going to increase the light, fake out the light that the sensor sees. So as a general rule, you want to use the lowest possible ISO setting that you can. So start out with 100 and you basically work your way up, or is what you're going to do basically. So here we have different variations of ISO. And I'm going to turn off the light so we can see this a little better. So on the one picture, there's actually within the picture different variations of ISO range that we can look at. So on the upper left corner, here we have ISO 100, and then this is ISO 3200. So the left is very clean, right is very noisy. See the difference? So you actually see the greens in the actual image. And then the image 100 is very clean. So a lower ISO usually produces a more color accurate, aesthetically pleasing image. But there are situations where higher ISO is desirable. The proper ISO really depends upon the level of lighting that's in the room or outside and the visual effect that you want to apply. So here's some basic tips to help you. If your subject's moving and you're trying to freeze the motion, let me bump this up just a little bit more. and you're trying to freeze the motion for a still, you're likely to want a higher ISO to compensate this higher shutter speed and ensure your image gets enough light. If you're going for more like a vintage look, you want the graininess, you bump it up even a little bit more. If you use a tripod to stabilize your camera, you usually want to get away from slow shutter speeds, which allows you to turn the ISO lower. If you're shooting an image that does not require a large depth of field, you can increase the camera's aperture or use the aperture mode actually and use a lower ISO. If you're shooting an artificial light like in this room or in your house or in a building, i.e. you're going to need a flash, you can typically get away with lower ISO. Like the camera in here last week, if you use a flash in here, it was fine, remember? But we turned the flash off and then up the ISO, and then she could see just fine what we were taking a photo of. But you are tempted to get a little bit more graininess maybe without the flash. So you do need to experiment, and I know you've kind of had time to do that last week, and I know your first exposure probably to changing ISO like that, and the reactions could be something like, well, I didn't know it did that, or, oh, that's kind of cool, putting this type of white balance with this level of ISO. And so when you use ISO in conjunction with white balance, it can do some pretty cool things. It can also make it look pretty terrible, depending upon the setting that you're in. And so the whole concept of the lab, take-home lab, was basically so you can play around with it, because I've been teaching long enough to know that if you don't have time to play with whatever it is you're learning, you're not going to learn it. You're just not going to learn it. If you are forced to do something for, like say, some type of immediate result, like now, and not have a long-term effect, you're more likely going to forget what it is you're learning. If you have time to play with it, hopefully it sinks in a little bit better. So never trust, like it says here, your computer's display. Don't assume that your picture will turn out just because the tiny 2-inch preview looks awesome on your camera. Your shots almost look different on your computer. You'll probably won't find a spot, able to spot noise on your camera's small, low-res display. For this reason, we highly recommend zooming in a bit with your images for the grain. And you can zoom in, by the way, even on a digital camera. It'll allow you to zoom in a little bit on most of your cameras on that image, or when you dump it onto your computer. But it's too late when you're on a computer because you're already home. So it's best to zoom in literally after you take the shot. You can zoom in on that image a little bit to see how it looks like. But even post is fine, better than nothing. So that's a few notes on ISO. Did everybody get the 10 images downloaded? And as you can tell, I'm rushing through because I don't want to keep everybody too late, because the drivers out there are pretty crazy. The weather's not that bad, right? I left campus for just a little bit earlier tonight, and it took me 10 minutes to get from here to Riverside. What, quarter mile? So anyway, anybody else experience that coming in? The cars are just super duper slow. So, okay, so here what we're going to do, we're going to use iPhoto here tonight. But before we do that, let me go over your take home. I'm going to go right into take home for week 4 and talk about that. Now, hopefully by now you have Picasa downloaded. If you don't, you will need it for this week's assignment. What you're going to do basically is take 10 photo settings, different photo spots, okay, and 30 photos. Each setting, each photo spot that you go around and take, like say one at the mall, one at your work, 2 or 3 at your house, maybe 2 or 3 at the park, all the way up to 10 different places. So 10 photo settings, 30 photos. Each photo setting, I want you to use 3 different ISO settings. An example, 80, 100, 300. So just like last week, we're going to do this again. You're dropping the basically white balance thing, and we're just using ISO by itself. That's it. So, but you're going to do the same 3 in a row, okay? And I will let you play it, toss it up a little bit this week. It doesn't have to be the lowest, okay? It does not have to be the lowest, just 3 of the same each time, each setting that you go to, each photo setting you go to. That makes sense? So if we do one in here and you decide to do 200, 300, 400, you go to your house, you're going to do 200, 300, 400. You go to your work, 200, 300, 400. You go to the mall, 200, 300, 400. Make sense? And so what you're going to do basically is, well, I'll skip 1 because that's dumping them in there. Let's go to number 3. Number 3, you're basically, when you upload these to Picasa, to Foki, I mean, you're basically going to label them as such. You're going to need what place you did it, lighting, ISO setting, and so I put in there an example of what you could save it as, but you don't have to do that on your computer. That's up to you. The only reason I recommend saving it as a JPEG and naming the file as such is if you was to find that file later. The way I name my files on my computer is always generally going to be date and location. I might not put settings on there, but at least date and location. That way I can bring it up later and find it easier. So, but you don't have to do that. It's up to you. I'm not going to actually see that. The place lighting, ISO settings, save as JPEG. The next part, though, I will see, which is abbreviations for lighting, is going to be sunny is going to be S, cloudy is going to be C, indoor bright is going to be B, indoor dark is going to be ID. And these are basically like in here, what would you say this would be? Indoor bright or dark? Indoor dark. So this will be ID. And we're in the WTC 152 lab. All right. And so we will, for our example here, be WTC 152, IB, and then whatever ISO we're using, 200, 300, then 400. Okay. Then what you'll do is create a contact sheet of those 30 images, and then you're going to submit it below. Okay. 1 and 2 basically is just connecting your camera to your computer or however you want to do it. However you do it at home. Some of you might take your SD card out and put it in to a reader. But basically you're dumping these photos into Picasa because this link here, this podcast link, takes you to a podcast on how to create a contact sheet using Picasa. All right. And let's see how long that thing is. Thank you. 2 minutes and 25 seconds. So not real long. Oh, a little tip here on YouTube videos. If you go over here to the bottom right side of the screen where it says settings here and bump it up to the highest quality that you can, which in this case it already is, which is 360. And so you might take that. We can click on this Picasa contact sheet and load it up within YouTube. And it might be a little easier to read it that way. So however you want to do it. Okay, so take home is 10 different settings. And what that means, photo settings, is 10 different locations. And then in those locations, you're going to do 3 ISOs a piece to make 30 photos. And then make note of your, now one of the nice things about Picasa is when you bring these photos in, it will tell you the ISO setting of your camera that you had it on. So that's nice. The one thing it won't tell you is where you're at. So you will need to make note of that. If your image won't tell you that, you might, a little trick I use is I'll have my camera, I'll take photos, and I'll use my camera phone to basically take a photo and then text myself where I was at the time. Something like that. However you want to do it. Or you can video yourself in that location and say, here I am at the mall taking whatever. So whatever system works for you. But definitely use your technology to your benefit. Don't, not use what you have. So that's my suggestion is videoing, taking a picture, texting it to yourself, and telling you where you're at. So at the end, you're going to basically upload the label on Foki is going to be for week 4. You'll upload them. And in the week 4 set, you're going to put in the label of each one of the photos, like the example is here for the mall. So the name of location, the lighting here was bright, and the ISO is 200. All right. Questions? So again, 3 ISOs for every photo setting, and then you're going to determine after you get back home where these were taken, label and such, and then upload them. Okay, or upload them, then label them. And then finally create the context sheet using Picasa. And the context sheet in Picasa is super easy, by the way. Even the one we're going to use tonight in iPhoto is super easy. And so you might have created a context sheet in the past, maybe using Photoshop, maybe. I don't know. Anybody use Photoshop to create a context sheet before? Okay. What we're going to do tonight with the iPhoto is pretty similar. It's actually even easier than that. And so what I'm going to do basically is fire up, you need to fire up iPhoto. And let's see here. iPhoto is not on your dock at the bottom. So do this for me. Go to the Go menu on your Mac. At the very top menu of your Mac, go to the Go menu. Then go to Applications, and then fire up iPhoto when you find it in your list of applications. So double tap on it and fire up iPhoto. And you should have those photos on your desktop right now to play with. And you might get a prompt on your Mac. Do you want to connect your camera each time or whatever? Just cancel through any prompts you might get till you get to the screen like I have here of iPhoto, to where you can at least see the photo file menu on the upper left corner of the screen. Everybody have that? All right, now let's go ahead and go to the file menu, and then we're going to import our files into iPhoto. So file menu, import to library. And I'm going to go to my desktop here. In fact, I'll just use these icons here I have out here. I'll get at least 10 images we're going to play with. Okay, we're just playing with this. So I'm going to select 10 images roughly here. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 11. Okay, so I got 10 images I'm importing. Yeah, import again. Okay, so I have these 10 images I imported. Once you have your images imported, it'll look like these, but they're your images. And what you'll need to do is take your mouse and click anywhere in the gray area of those imported files that just came in. And then I want you to do a Command A on your Mac keyboard. When you do a Command A on your Mac keyboard, you should see a little yellow selection, hopefully, around your images. Do you see that? And all that means is you've just selected these images. Now, just a little help with you, those of you new to Mac, I could actually click on the gray area again and press and hold my Command key and select individually those pictures I want. But I want all of them, so that's why I do a Command A. And so Command A is like in Windows, Control A in Windows, if you're using Picasa at home on a Windows machine. Okay, so we've selected all. Now what we're going to do is show you, if we go up here to the File menu, exactly, let's see. Yeah, File menu is fine. And then let's go to New Album. And it should prompt Untitled Album, and for you to name it something. I want you to go ahead and name this one Contact. And then hit the Enter key on your keyboard. Next, you're going to take your mouse again and put it in the gray area. Do a Command A. And now we're going to show you one of the cool things about Macs that PCs can't do. I want you to go to the iPhoto menu and go to Preferences. And then I want you to go to, let's see here. Let me go to the Macs on here so it's like it is on your guys'. Hang on just a second. Switch over gears for you. Okay. So what we're going to do here is change some preferences so we can see each other in iPhoto and what each other's doing. So, okay, let's see here. I gotta go through some prompts probably. Okay. So iPhoto preferences. And then what we're going to do is go to sharing. I didn't have sharing on my MacBook, so I'm not connected to the network in here. So sharing, you guys should have sharing like I do, right? And you want to click the one that says share my photos. And instead of shared name web students library, I want you to put in here your last name space library. Leave library in there, it's fine. So shared name, your last name, space library. Don't check required password. So you should have check marked share my photos. You should have last name, your last name library, and then you can click the little red X in that box. And then you'll notice in iPhoto, there is now a little triangle that you can expand and see everybody's work in here. So I have in here Benz, Carmades, Lambaron, Madison, and Webb. And when I click on these, I can actually browse your photos. And what's great about that in a media environment is if you guys are all in the same group working with me as media folks or designers, and you just went out on a photo shoot, you come back, you dump your photos, create an album, and say, oh, can you see my album? I wanted you to look and see the photo I just took. I can immediately look at them on your Mac that's shared for the network to see. Now, you can only see this, by the way, if you're connected to a Mac that's on a network. You're not going to see it at home. It's not going to show up unless you do have another Mac on your environment. And I think that's kind of cool that you can do that. And that comes with the Mac, by the way. iPhoto does. It's not going to cost any more to use. And as a developer and designer, I use that quite a bit. Okay. Not responding. Restart mine. Now, also too, like I'll go into the Benz's library here. If I go into library and try to, this is your photo. I can open it up and look at it, okay? By double tapping on it, it'll go to full screen, but I don't have any real edit rights to this. If I click edit, while that's there, it'll actually look like I'm getting ready to edit it, but notice all these are grayed out down here. And so I can go to the file menu and try, there's no export option. So it's view only, which in a work environment is good because I'm not going to mess your photo up. Okay, only you should be able to do that. All right, does that make sense? And so this helps you kind of look at each other's photos on a Mac environment. So I'm going to switch now back to my screen that I have my images on. What I'd like you to do is go to your library now underneath where that folder library we just made. Click on that on the left side. It should be underneath albums because we just created an album called Contact, right? So click on your Contact album and then go into the gray area and let's do a Command A. Yes. What's that? Your photos disappeared. Oh yeah, that's fine. Oh, the ones that you just, let's see. Go to recent, the last import, and do a command A here, and then drag them into that folder. Let's see if they're there now. Okay, cool. Anybody else need help? Yeah. Okay, are you in iPhoto? Okay, you in iPhoto. So go minimize your screen. Yeah. Okay. Click here. Show the go menu. Applications. You did download the photos, right? 10 photos? Okay. Okay. Let's start iPhoto. Once you start iPhoto, I'm going to help you download this image. This one. You see what I just did? Use click and drag these photos over here. So they find from that. One with their folders. Import. Click on the folder on the desktop. Import file and folder. New album. Name that your last name. Command A. Command A again. Anybody else need help? Okay, so you should have all your files selected, all your images selected. Now we're ready to go to the File menu on iPhoto, and we're going to go down to Print, at the very bottom. And photos here. I don't know if your guys' looks different than mine on the version here of yours. Does yours look the same or different than mine on your Macs? Huh? Had a pop-up window to select what to do, right? All right. What you want to do is basically you're going to select. I'm going to go over here. Let's go on the one here. Switch over. You're going to select basically the contact sheet one. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. Yep, sorry. Right in front of my face. Your guys will have a pop-up, right, that selects, and you'll want to select the contact sheet. And I believe when you select contact sheet, you should also have a slider somewhere. Mine, it's going to be a different place than mine. But you want to basically select the slider to where it's fill up that entire sheet on that contact sheet. Now, if you say you had 30 images, it would take up multiple pages. And what you want to do is use a slider if you had 30 images and use a slider to fit them all on one contact sheet. And the purpose for contact sheets for photographers is that you basically, when you save your images to your DVD, you're going to print out your contact sheet, fold it up, and put it in your case. That way later on when you view those images or take that disc out, you can look at that contact sheet to see what's on that DVD. All right. So once you've zoomed in and made the columns fit your contact sheet as full as you can, Now we're ready to go to the File menu. And then I want you to go to Export. And we're going to export this as an image, okay? And you'll have JPEG image, TIFF image, or PNG. I want you to select PNG. The reason I want you to select PNG, it's the best quality image post save that we can play with and do whatever we want to. So PNG, and then go to click the export button, and we're going to have to select our desktop, and then click OK. And what this did was, oh, sorry, I selected the wrong one. My bad. I printed them all on my desktop. Go back to the iPhoto screen. File menu again. You're going to have like 10 images on your desktop. File menu again. Print. I'm not wearing my glasses tonight. I apologize. I left my glasses in my office. As you can see, I'm like right next to my screen. I'm like, okay, file menu. File menu, and then on the bottom left, you should have PDF. You guys see the PDF button on the bottom left portion of that? When you go to File, Print, again, File, Print, PDF on the left side? No. Some of you guys saying yes, some are saying no. Okay. Let me pull in here an image here. I'm going to take an image real quick. Hang on just a second. Just to import something. Okay, File, Print with that contact sheet. And what you're going to select on yours is for the printer, we don't want that. New contact sheet. Let me do that. Click Print. And bottom left should be PDF. So again, I'll do it again. File, Print. You guys created the contact sheet, right? This print button right here is what I'm talking about on your Macs. Click Print, and then you should have a PDF on the left. You have that? Everybody got that now? Or no? Okay, I'll come around and help you. Click the print button, and you have to be on contact sheet. Yep. Now click Print, and bottom left. Anybody else? Yep. Bottom left PDF. Got it now? Okay. So click on that PDF button, and there's some options here to choose from. What we're going to do is save this as a PDF, open it in Mac Preview, and then save that as an image. All right, so PDF, and then save as PDF. And we're going to go to our desktop, but where it says save as, just name it Contact again. Contact's fine. Don't worry about title or author or anything like that. Just make sure it says save as Contact. Then click Save, and make sure it is on your desktop. Now we're ready to go to the photo menu, the iPhoto menu, like I'm pointing to on the overhead, and go all the way down and quit iPhoto. Everybody have that done? Okay. Now what we're going to do is go to your desktop where that contact page is, or contact.pdf. The easiest way, by the way, to find it is if you go to your Go menu again, click on your Go menu on your Mac, and go to Desktop. Then if you select the column on your Mac folder here that says Date Modified, it's going to sort it by date modified. And the latest one should be your contact.pdf. Okay? Now do this for me. I don't want this to be opened up into Acrobat. It must be opened up into Preview. So Control, click is your friend here. The control button on your Mac, press and hold it. Press and hold the control button. Then click on that contact file. And we want to open with preview. Open with preview. And what we're going to practice here is using preview's annotation feature. Because one of the things you'll do with contact sheets this semester is, I'll say print out the contact sheet and circle your favorite photo that you took this week. Okay, that might be an example of what I'm going to do. In fact, I know it is a number of times. And even for your final portfolio, you'll do the same thing. You'll print out your portfolio pictures and you'll circle the ones that you like the best that you actually printed 8x10 and put in your portfolio. So there's an annotation feature though inside of preview that we're going to use. So does everybody have it up in front of you in preview? If you don't, raise your hand, I'll help you. Okay, click on the preview tool menu, Tool menu, annotate, go down to annotate, and let's select oval. So tools, annotate oval. And what's going to happen is you'll notice there is a big circle with a white middle part. We don't want the white middle part, so we're going to take and click on this button up here at the top, and we're going to click this box here that means it's going to be a transparent box. I'll come around and help you on this one too, by the way. But basically, we're getting rid of the white background and making it transparent to where I can take now and circle that image. I'm going to do it 2 more times. I'm going to go back to Tools. So if you didn't get the first time, I'm going to do it again. Tools, Annotate, Oval. And you'll notice after you do it the first time, you don't have to get rid of the white background after the first time. It remembers what you want. So I'm going to do it 1 more time, and I'm just and you can, by the way, there's little boxes on the oval to where you can play with it. And so finally, when you're done, I want 3 images that walk around selected, just like I've done. And you're going to need to click on the little white box up there and make sure it's the line through it that you selected. Perfect, that's good. Otherwise, it's still going to have that white background. Good job. So this is helpful to, again, select an image that you like. And what's nice about it too is if you put this in a DVD jewel case with your images, you already know when you pull it out, oh yeah, these are the images I like on here. And if you've labeled them correctly, like these, by the way, in iPhoto, will keep the labeling of whatever you've named them. So if you've named them, you know, The Creek, 11/10/2014, you just go find that on the DVD. And then you can print it out. Okay, now what we're going to do is take this PDF as I get my face close to my screen and see what I'm doing. I'm going to File menu, and then now we're going to go down to Export. Instead of Export to PDF, it's going to be Export. And we're going to select at the very bottom the format PNG. And it should change the extension from PDF, contact.pdf to contact.png. If it doesn't, let me know and I'll come by and help you. And we're going to save this now to your desktop. Now we're ready to go to the preview menu and click Quit Preview. And then we should now have that contact.png on our desktop. That's where you're going to submit to week 4 in-class lab. Is that contact.png? So go ahead and do that. You'll need to go into RBC Eagle to week 4 in-class and submit that. Okay, you never opened this up in the preview. Is this a PDF or post PDF? Did you do the circle then? Okay, gotta do that. So go to Tools, Annotate, Oval. I'll show you one. Tools, Annotate, Oval. Get it? Where's that? You gotta draw something. There you go. Release it. Okay, then go to File menu. Export. And you're going to select the format type PNG. Very bottom, format PNG. And save. And go to preview quit. And it should be right there. That's the one you're going to upload. The one is PNG. That's PDF. One below that. Once you've uploaded, by the way, that photo successfully, if you could delete all the PNGs I had you put on the desktop earlier, that would be awesome. In fact, delete everything that's on your desktop that you put on there tonight after you've uploaded that contact.png. Now, questions on what you just did. And so you understand the purpose of the contact then is for photographers to use to index basically their DVD. You say, I don't have time to do that. I got a life. I don't have time to do this, right? Well, there's a place called Walmart that you can go and take your SD card, and they'll do everything you just did tonight for about $2. So if you've done a wedding or you've done a graduation photo, right, shoot, take your SD card to Walmart, and within 30 minutes, they'll give you a nice DVD with a nice index of little thumbnails of every image on that disc. Because one thing you don't want to do is wait to do what we're doing tonight. You don't want to wait to do a contact sheet because your computers crash, right? You ever had a computer crash before? And all your pictures are gone. So if you create a backup system of some type to where, okay, I want to take my photos. Once I take my photos, immediately I'm going to do this to get my photos off my camera and not on your computer. It's good to see them on computer, right? And to organize them and to fix them up or whatever. But within Picasa, it does have a feature in Picasa to burn your images to a DVD and create a contact sheet like you're going to take home this week. So either use that, and it's good to know how to do it, but in reality, you might not have time to do that all the time. So you can use places like Walmart, which I do all the time, to drop my SD cards off and then just pick them up in an hour or whatever. And they've got a nice little jewel case with my index cards in front of it. But in a pinch, if I need to create one, I can. Either by iPhoto, Photoshop, or Picasa. It doesn't matter what you use as long as you create one. And it's nice to have the index because it has a picture with the name of the picture underneath it. Okay? Picasa will do that, iPhoto will do that, and Photoshop will do that. And so immediately, as soon as you can, back it up. I can't stress enough to back up your images to a DVD. And it might have been a while since you've done that. And again, if you don't want to play with that at home or you don't have DVDs at home, they are pretty inexpensive to buy. And if you don't want to mess with that though, at least go to a store like Walmart to have them do it for you. Which I'm surprised how many students don't even know they do that coming into this class. And they do. And I've used it for years and they work really well. And Walgreens does it as well. Walmart does it as well. I think Walmart's a little bit faster and a little bit cheaper than Walgreens. And they do a good job. So all they're doing is saving your image from your SD on the DVD, print a contact sheet. It's usually 4x6s, and they just put it in the front of it, and that's it. So after you get through uploading, please delete everything that you put on the desktop, including the images I had you dump because I wasn't viewing my screen well and had you export everything to your desktop. Appreciate that. And I promise I'll wear my glasses next week. When I left the house, I just left them on the dresser, and I'm a little nearsighted, and so I see everything up close really well. But your face right now looks really blurry. And so I promise I'll bring my glasses next week to be safe in here and also with the lesson. So any questions on your take home? Remember, not only do you have the ISO assignment of the 30 photos, you also have what else that you need to do between now and next week? Remember? The digital terminologies, yeah, camera terminologies. And again, just study the terms, and then from Monday to next Sunday, from next Monday to next Sunday, you'll have that whole time frame to do that quiz twice, but it'd be beneficial if you study the terms prior to taking it. Well, guess what? We're done. If you have any questions, come up and see me. Otherwise, be safe driving home and watch for other drivers around you. because people are going really, 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 really slow, or they're going really, 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 really fast. Either one. It's no in between. So see you guys next week.